is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. And we're on the line today with Melissa Stewart. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Melissa and the National Geographic Kids folks have come through again. This time the book is called ICK, Delightfully Disgusting Animal Dinners, Dwellings, and Defenses. Melissa, how did you draw this assignment?
You know what? I have been collecting cool animal facts for more than 20 years, and so eventually I had enough information. I knew I could write a great book, and so I put together a proposal for National Geographic, and luckily they accepted it.
Really? You said, I want to tell people about the bone-eating snot flower worm, and they said, that's for us. Oh, man.
Not only does it have a terrific name, but it lives a mile under the ocean surface attached to the bones of rotting whale carcasses.
You see, how many of those are you going to find just laying around the house? just not a lot. In fact, I just opened the book myself right to that page, the bone-eating snot flower worm. Oh, gracious sakes. But this has to have been fun for you to put together, and I'm sure that you had a lot of great people that helped you, right?
You know what? It was so much fun, and I owe so much to the wonderful photo research department at National Geographic. Not only do they have the best photo archive, the biggest photo archive in the world, but they also, there were a few cases where we had to go outside looking for images, and they were able to get pretty much everything that I could have hoped for. And so the book has these big, beautiful, vibrant photos of all these crazy creatures, along with the words that I wrote.
You see, when you say that, I think, wow, Melissa, where the heck do you live? If you can just walk outside and there's the white-nest swiftlet or the African mound-building termite outside your house, you live in a great place.
Well, I live in Massachusetts, but these animals come from all over the world. But luckily, as a writer, I am able to travel to a lot of different places, and a lot of the animals that are in this book live in Africa, and I was able to see them when I was on safari there.
Melissa, how come kids have such a fascination with bugs and really gross stuff?
I think kids are just fascinated with everything. They're like little sponges, and they want to learn as much as they can about the world and everything in it. And that includes things that are fascinating and maybe even a little bit disgusting. Yeah,
and we certainly find that here. I'm particularly interested in the section I'm looking at now, which is disgusting defenses. A lot of these animals and the things that we find distasteful about them, they really are defense mechanisms, aren't they?
That's true. One example is a baby bird called the Fulmar, the northern Fulmar, and it defends itself by vomiting on attackers. And it can fire half a dozen blasts in a row and hit a target up to 6 feet away. Imagine a tiny little chick, and it can hit things 6 feet away.
Wow. I'm actually looking at that thing right now, and there's an action shot there.
Yes.
Your photographers.
It's one of my favorite photos in the book.
You're National Geographic photographers. Man, oh man. Just when they get together for lunch, it just must be a blast.
Absolutely.
Oh, they're so good. So you're putting this thing together, and you're sort of mining the various resources that you have. Where do you find out some of this information, and what steers you in the direction of this one? It's like somebody say, hey, Melissa, you ought to check this out, or somebody writes into you. Where do you find these things?
I've actually been collecting the information that's in this book for more than 20 years. I've always been fascinated by cool animal facts, and I have a file cabinet in my office where I keep all kinds of different folders. And so I have one about cannibal animals. I have one about animals that regurgitate, animals that build unusual nests. And so I was able to just pull information from various different folders and combine it in a way of, when I had the theme for this book, the gross animal dinners, dwellings, and defenses, I was able to pull information from all these other articles that I've been saving for years.
And it's so much fun to go through this, and I know kids are going to be fascinated. The format of the book is really good, too. It's a large format book, so kids can get a really, really sharp picture.
Yeah, it's what's called a browsable book, and so it has a very large, as you were saying, it has a large trim size, and it has gigantic photos that take up most of the background of the spread, and then it also has lots of different little text boxes, and so kids can kind of dip in and out as they want to.
So when you think about this, and I'm sure the feedback that you value most of all isn't from mom and dad, it's from the kids. How do you go about gathering that?
You know, I am lucky to be able to do, well, not so much right now during the pandemic, but most of the time I visit schools all over the country during the school year and give presentations, talk about writing and talk about science, and they are happy to give me feedback. Some good and some, sometimes they have some criticisms that are on point, so that's good too.
Yeah, well, how about that? And when I'm sure they have some suggestions for something gross that they know about too.
Absolutely.
In this case, National Geographic has been doing this, and we've been talking with authors from the National Geographic for a lot of years, and it really is a wonderful thing that the society actually looks to pull kids into a world that otherwise they would probably never be exposed to. Talk about that for a while, if you would, about how National Geographic really looks out for these kids in that way.
I think National Geographic is an organization that's been around for more than 100 years, and it's always had a mission of trying to share information about animals and about ecosystems, and also to fund research all over the world, with the goal of not only exploring natural places and understanding natural places, but also helping to protect and preserve them. And that's something that we need more than ever right now.
We're talking with Melissa Stewart. The book is ICK, Delightfully Disgusting Animal Dinners, Dwellings, and Defenses. Melissa's the writer, and she's got some wonderful, wonderful folks helping her with these images that you include in the book. As you were writing this and putting it together and finally got a look at the finished product, what were the animals that stood out to you, or the insects or bugs or whatever they were? What were the ones that you said, oh, that's one of my favorites right there?
There are so many. I think one of them is actually eyelash mites, which are tiny little critters. They're not insects, but they're related to insects. And they live on our faces. Almost everyone has them. They slurp up oils that ooze out of our skin and also eat dead flakes of skin. They're microscopic, and the images that they have in the book were taken with scanning electron microscopes. You can really see them up close, and they're plus you can also see our skin up close, and that's really amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, Melissa. I'm thinking I don't want to see that image again. The itch mite is another one where you get that microscopic thing, and oh man, it has me scratching already just looking at it.
Yeah, luckily itch mites are not as widespread. They aren't on pretty much everyone. They're only on some people, but they can actually burrow into your skin and make these. The way that they diagnose it is that you have kind of these little pink streaks on your skin, and that is from them burrowing under your skin, which is pretty disgusting.
Melissa, you have a wonderful blog, Celebrate Science. Tell me about it.
So I post 3 times a week during the school year, and I have a wide variety of topics. Sometimes I talk about writing nonfiction. Sometimes I talk about science, cool science facts. And so it's a great resource for teachers and also for homeschoolers. And on my website, I also have a lot of resources for teachers and homeschoolers, and for parents now during the pandemic. They can use some of the video mini lessons there too.
What's the website?
It is melissa-stewart.com. You can also just Google Melissa Stewart author, and it will pop right up.
There you go. And, of course, for the National Geographic Kids books, at geokids.com. Melissa, this has been so much fun, and our listeners, there you go, our listeners are going to love this as well. We've got a couple of copies to give away to them. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
We appreciate it. Have a great day today.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.